Welcome to Wednesday All Community Council meeting. Kyla, you want to start with roll call?
Sure. So online we have myself, Kyla Leonard, Brenna Davis, Chet Krauser, Commissioner Strohmeyer, Heidi West, Commissioner Slotnick, Commissioner Vero, Maddie Scott, Melissa Gordon, Sydney Kendi, Tom Tucker, Bonnie Roberts, Frankie Feinstein, Jane Kipp, MCAT, Richard Hall, and Stephanie Lemberg.
Thanks so much. Well, I think I'm sorry, I'm in my car and on my phone, but I believe the first item on the agenda is the housing and development survey.
That is correct.
I see Heidi West. Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
I'm impressed with your multitasking.
I'm going to be very safe.
Yes, I hope so. All right, so I am here to follow up on my last visit to the All Community Council, which was where I invited everyone to share the word about the community housing and community development survey. And I wanted to follow up with some high-level results from that survey. So I'll share my screen here. Hopefully that goes smoothly. All right, so can everybody see the introductory slide right now?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so just as a reminder, the purpose and intent of the survey is to conduct a community needs assessment that helps us identify and define needs and gaps that are related to infrastructure, facilities, economic development, and housing. And this allows us to have a better idea of what the community needs and desires are and our applications for funding in those categories. And this time we also really focused on identifying partners and projects that might need support from us in the next 5 years. And this survey also serves as the first step in pursuing specifically the home funding and the CDBG Community Development Block Grant funding. So just a really high level overview of what those two different funding sources are. The Community Development Block Grant funding supports viable communities. And I have a little pop-up blocking everything. Okay, there we go. Supports viable communities by providing decent housing, a suitable living environment, and expanding economic opportunities for low and moderate income individuals. And then the Home Improvement Partnership or HOME program is funding that's used to expand the supply of affordable housing for low and very low income persons. And so this and just some really quick project examples of how this funding has been used in the past. One example are some wastewater improvements for resident-owned community here in Missoula County. Things like satellite food pantries in Lolo, Bonner, and a mobile home park, low interest loans to business owners, and then a construction of a local group home for people with disabilities. And so I think the community councils especially did a very good job at helping get the word out about this community survey because we had a record number of responses. So we received 702 responses across the county. And so this is from both residents that live within the city of Missoula and also residents that are in the county. And it was open for about 3 weeks. And just a caveat as we're going through these high-level results, the methodology wasn't scientific, so it's not a statistically valid survey, but it does still give us some really interesting insights into the individual communities and what the priorities are. So I'll talk mostly about community-related responses. And so 52% of the people that responded lived in Missoula County outside of the city limits, and there are a lot of different communities that people could self-identify as belonging to. And just so you know, there is a report available online. And as a part of that report, Seeley Lake, Lolo, East Missoula, and Target Range have individual community profiles that are included in that report. And we can pull a data set for any of these other listed communities as well. So if there are specific questions to places like the Y or Tura, we can definitely dig into those numbers further. Although I will say there weren't as many responses. So, you know, I don't know how many broad conclusions can be reached from those. So just so that we have a context of the types of people that offer or answered the survey, just keep that in mind as we discuss what the different priorities are. So Missoula County specific survey responses reflected 365 respondents. Of those, 51% lived in two people households, 32% earned over $90,000, and then a vast majority of those also are homeowners and are employed. And I did want to point out that our one individual that we had that responded and identified as unhoused actually lived in the county, not in the city, which was surprising to me anyway. Oh, and for some reason it's frozen. Let me see, I'll stop sharing and reshare. I'm not sure why it's not progressing.
Heidi, you're still muted.
There we go. Thank you. All right, so as far as community priorities go when looking at the whole county, neighborhood renewal activities ranked the highest. Economic development was second, and then financing or subsidizing the development of affordable or the development of housing was third. And there were some significant difference between county and city priorities. As you can see, wastewater and water system expansion and improvements ranked number 2, which was a difference from how city residents answered the survey. And it is. All right. And so we did ask additional questions about public infrastructure. And as you can see, there are also big differences between city residents and county residents on what types of infrastructure were prioritized. And it probably is not a surprise to most people that the number one county priority was wastewater and water system expansion or improvements. And as far as economic development goes, the top initiatives that respondents indicated would support economic development in Missoula County were the same for both city and county residents. And the number one priority was to expand opportunities for low and moderate income residents through job creation, job retention, and job training. Interestingly, the second highest priority was none of the above. And we did go through all of the open-ended comments to try and see if we could glean some insight about maybe what other economic initiatives Missoula County residents would like to see. The only things we could directly identify that would relate to economic development that hadn't been captured elsewhere in these options was access to childcare. But I'm sure that there's a variety of other things people had in mind when they selected this option. And then the third option that was the environmental assessment of properties to promote redevelopment and reuse of sites. And I think this in large part is attributed to the really great outreach the county has been doing about things like the Brownfields program and its availability to redevelop sites in the county. So housing challenges. There actually was a bit of difference between what city and county residents ranked highest. Because county residents there are more home buyers homeowners than renters in the county, they ranked the high upfront cost for home buyers slightly higher than the city residents when looking at them separately. So for city residents, the high upfront cost of rentals was higher, but the same three priorities for the top three for both groups. And similarly, when asking people what sorts of resources they would like to see, the county prioritized resources for homeowners, and that includes things like rehab or energy efficiency upgrades. When asking about housing policy priorities, the county's #1 response was the creation of resident-owned communities. And when looking at the types of things county residents prioritize for housing development needs, funding for infrastructure ranked the highest, which also parallels with earlier responses we saw about wastewater systems and those sorts of things. So we also received over 500 just comments as a part of the survey, and these kind of fit in 3 different buckets related to community development, economic development, and housing. And in the community development area, bridges ranked very high as a need, along with things like community centers, a pool, fire mitigation, and sidewalk and trail improvements. And there's all of these. If you really want to dive into details, you can read all of the comments as well as part of the actual. You can see the actual data that we received, and you could see every single comment, and also see what people said in different communities. So I just want to say thank you for getting the word out about this survey. I didn't point it out when I was at the community slide, but the Sealy community had over 130 responses, which was phenomenal. And as well as, Lolo had a lot. And then most communities had at least some responses. So I really appreciate the engagement, and you can find all the survey results and all the reports and all the presentations either on our website, which that's the Missoula.co grant survey, or you can also find all of the same information on Missoula County Voice. And then if there are additional questions or you want a specific report for a specific community, we also can pull those for you. And you can just get a hold of me or Kayla and call us or email us at grants@missoulacounty.us. So thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Did you say that a difference between this year's and last year's was how the communities ranked housing, or is it because the numbers are so different between the participants last year and this year, you couldn't really make that assessment? Or I can't remember what you said about that.
I'm trying to remember. Housing did rank less high overall. But then if you looked at the individual communities, there were significant differances. So Sealy Lake, for example, as a community ranked housing in the top 3, where Target Range, for example, didn't rank it as high. So it really depends on which community you're talking about. But overall, it didn't rank as high as it has in the past.
Got it. Okay, thanks. And sorry, I didn't know does anyone else have any questions or comments for Heidi?
And I printed out, I'm at home, as you can see by the wall, but I did bring all the different reports I printed out so far. So I might be able to get really specific answers for you.
Was there anything that stood out then? Well, I'm just kind of killing time here. In any particular community that was, you know, fascinating or surprising to you?
Um, Not really. I think as a aggregate housing, maybe for example, like sinking a little bit lower, um, was surprising. But then if you looked at the individual communities, I think maybe they just had more pressing needs. You know, you know, bridges and wastewater and water systems in some communities just are maybe a little bit more of a immediate need. And of
Yeah.
course, those are needed to support housing. So I think maybe the ranking just changed based on the environments that people are living in right now. Oh, and I see someone has their hand up. Stephanie maybe has a question for me.
I do. I was just kind of curious why Sealy Lake beat us all so bad. Why did Sealy respond so much?
Oh, is anybody
Great
from
outreach.
yeah. Yeah, and I think they've had some on the community council tour for outreach for this program and the rural grants program. It seems like they are fairly organized at the moment and really active and engaged. So they did a great job getting the word out. So although East Missoula was still in the top 4.
We did try.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Heidi. Or unless I can't see if there's anyone else. Oh,
Hi.
Cindy Kennedy's hand is raised.
Wow, Juan, you're driving and you're seeing, okay. Yeah, I know. I just wanted to reiterate what Heidi was saying, that, you know, shout out to the county residents for participating, because this is the first time, I think, in the 10 years that I've been involved in this survey, that the county response was bigger than the city response. And the county resident, or the population in the county, it was disproportionately higher than the actual population in terms of percentages. So I think that's really exciting, and I'm glad to see that we're getting that kind of response from county residents. That's all.
Way to
Open
go,
Dave's
county.
hand.
And just for clarification for anyone who lives in the city, and you might be wondering, well, which county do I live in? Everyone who is in Missoula County lives within Missoula County, whether you're in the city or not. You just happen to live within the city limits or outside of the city limits. And what when you hear folks say in the city or in the county, that's just a shorthand for saying basically within the city limits versus outside of the city limits. But you're all within Missoula County.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Heidi. Well, any comments? Oh, I kind of mangled this at the last Sealy Lake Community Council meeting. I think folks asked if how the results of this would be used, and my understanding of kind of how the question was asked was like, hey, Sealy Lake did so much or responded so well, so hey, county, why aren't you doing more projects around housing in Sealy Lake? And I kind of flailed on my answer, and Heidi, you might have a better answer about the process of how this is being used, and for like the federal grants and HUD and etc.
Yeah, so the community survey counts as our first public meeting as a part of the application process. But what usually happens is that Missoula County applies for funding, whether that's in the housing bucket or public facilities or any of the other buckets in partnership with a subrecipient. And so we are always looking for projects and partners, and we're a middle person. We're a conduit of that federal funding to a subrecipient that then can actually make the project happen. And in most cases, that's how it's structured. And so I think we would love for there to be a housing project or, infrastructure project, like all of those things in Sealy. And I think we're looking for the right project and the right partner. And then, of course, it has to check the right boxes for HUD. So it has to meet that low to moderate income needs. So the housing would either have to be specific for low to moderate income individuals, or in some way it would have to benefit that portion of the population, if that makes sense. So we like to support, we are enablers, but we need a project to enable.
Yep.
So.
Thank you. That was a much better answer than I gave. Thank you. Chet, is it Chet who's doing the Lands and Communities annual report? Awesome.
It is me. Yeah, thanks, Juan. So this is something that most of you might be familiar with. Each year we pull together an annual report from Lands and Communities and then share it out. I'm sure Kyla will put the link in the chat for us so you can access this as well, but I'm going to do a quick run through. And it just really highlights the things that we've been up to within each of the departments and accomplishments over the course of the year. So I'm excited to show you what are going to be some pretty awesome photos, assuming they come through well. So I'm going to share my screen here really quick. And we will jump in. All righty. And can somebody let me know, make sure you're seeing that screen okay?
I can see it.
Yep,
Perfect.
looks good.
Awesome. All right, so this is the landing page that you will access when you click that link that Kyla put in the chat. And this is broken down by the various departments that we have within Lands and Communities. And anyone who was on here a few months back, we gave a bit of a kind of history lesson there, but mentioned each of the departments. Those are Ecology and Extension, Grants and Community Resources, Lands, Culture and Recreation, and Planning, Development, and Sustainability. So you can click on each of those icons. It'll take you into a navigation bar here at the top where you can kind of quick jump to the various departments and programs. But I'm just going to quickly scroll through each of these and just highlight a few of the pieces and accomplishments that each of the departments has highlighted here. And then you can take a deeper dive on your own and go explore and learn a little bit more about what we've been up to over the course of the last year. So Lands and Communities, again, comprised of those 4 departments that I mentioned, and really working a lot with the communities out there and directly with the commission as well. Really geared toward just helping maintain Missoula County as a great place for us to live, work, and then also host visitors. So a lot of the things that I think we all appreciate about living here, we have the privilege of being engaged with. So we did some kind of some engagement with our staff and talked with them about what values they bring to their work. And this word chart here is kind of a reflection of what they all put out there. So you can see some of the things that I think largely connect us to the communities. Connection, of course, is a big word there, but also community stewardship, rural grants. You can see a lot of the things that are reflected in the departments and the work that they do. We do work a lot with rural residents, so hopefully most of you on this call are familiar with us and some of the staff. We have a lot of interaction with the community councils, Kyla in particular, but we also support a number of different boards and advisory committees throughout the county, things like Planning Board, Zoning Board of Adjustment, Impact Fee Advisory Board, the Front Country Recreation Cooperative, which is a group of agency folks that work together throughout Missoula County, and then also a bunch of different committees like the Open Lands Committee, Park Board, those types of groups. Accomplishments really for us in Lands and Communities broadly was just getting our organizational structure in place. We've been in a process of reorganization, which we talked about here a couple of months ago, but we now have Lands, Culture and Recreation. Randy Arnold is the director of that department. Ecology and Extension, Bryce Christians is the director of that department. Planning, Development, and Sustainability, Karen Hughes, and then Melissa Gordon as our Grants and Community Resources Director. So it was great to get everybody in place, get those departments established, and then we'll be moving forward here into the next year. Moving forward into Ecology and Extension, it's been a big year of accomplishment for Ecology and Extension, largely getting their new facility up and running. So it was great to get that on the ground, and then we've really been doing a ton of work in the course of the last year, just getting the programs going, getting staff settled, and just getting that facility open to the public. So they were open for their first year. You can see the building there. It's a phenomenal facility. If you haven't had a chance to go there or experience the Butterfly House, try to take some time and stop in. They've also got the Rocky Mountain Gardens that is another kind of grand opening opportunity that if you haven't checked that out, especially as spring gets rolling and things start blooming, it's just an awesome, incredible place to go take a stroll and just enjoy all of the stuff that's there. They do a bunch of ecosystem management as well. This portion highlights some of the work within the aquatic invasive species focus, looking at those watercraft inspection stations, largely the Clearwater Junction station. So that's the one that's up there by the Big Cow. If you've gone through that, that's operated by the Ecology and Extension Department through cooperation with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. Some numbers there as far as boats coming through, what they're finding, and a bit more description of how that facility is run and what they're up to. Horticulture and agriculture, again, the Rocky Mountain Gardens. There's some great photos here, but there you can see the ribbon cutting, getting folks in there. They've got all sorts of different plants and sections of that garden. If you get a chance, again, go check it out. A ton of volunteer effort pulling that off, getting it open to the public. And these photos just are incredible. So if that's not enough to entice you, boy, I don't know what to say. Hopefully you get a chance to go check it out. Really came along well. Ton of folks, even the kids from Sentinel High School will come over and they'll eat lunch in this pavilion. So yeah, it's turned into quite a community resource. Lots of folks that are checking that out. Nutrition education, there's a really neat kind of cooking lab and classroom that's part of the facility. It's called the Honeyberry Teaching Kitchen. They had a ton of folks in there, everything from kids all the way to adults in different culinary classes, learning how to cook with various things that are grown in your garden, etc. There you can see some kids in the Young Chef program. Ton of interest there with the kitchen, and it's a really phenomenal classroom space. Additionally, youth development. So working with some of the programs that we've had in the past, like Nature Walk Week, getting kids out there for stewardship engagement, getting more experience in the field, along with some STEM programs. The facility itself has really expanded the opportunity to help provide some of these programs and connect them to the STEM requirements. And then also expanding into the climate resiliency work, coordinating with planning, development, and sustainability. There's a home upgrade hub that was established to help residents with a resource to connect them on how to make their homes more efficient in terms of energy. Some of these programs, including the home upgrade hub, have been affected by some of the grant freezes. So these are a little bit in flux, but there was initially a $1 million grant to help fund this. Some of those things may change as we start to ride out what the funding situation might look like. They partner with a bunch of folks in the community. You can see the list there. So that's a big part of what they're up to. Moving forward to grants and community resources, there you can see the lovely women that make up our program there. You just got to hear from a couple and some of the work that they're doing. There are some sections here that you can dive a little bit deeper into, working both in terms of county grants, so funds that are coming via the county, like the Rural Grant Program, and then also federal and state grants. So these are the grants that that our staff are able to acquire and then put to work in the county. Things like the Environmental Protection Agency Brownfields Program. This is a shot of Marshall Mountain. So some of the program funds there were able to be directed towards some of the base buildings and evaluating those. Crisis Diversion Grant. And then we also have the Housing and Community Development Survey, which Heidi just talked about. So those are some highlights there as well in terms of details. You can click into the links and take a deeper dive on some of the results. And then a success with the Two Rivers resident-owned community. So that was a project out in Lolo where they were able to purchase and transition that mobile home park into something that was owned as a resident-owned cooperative. So there's a celebratory photo there as well. The highlights here is kind of a nice resource if you want to see some of the numbers. Gives you an idea of the impact areas, dollars that went into some of those, and then also some narrative descriptions of some of the projects and a bit more detail on kind of what those look like. They'll be moving forward in 2025. This is a cooperative project with the Poverello Center to help work on some veterans housing. And we'll see that move forward into the next year. Also, with the new department working on a coordinated grant effort. So there's a team pulled together throughout the county to hopefully develop some better internal processes and better support, and hopefully grow the department in a way that can be even a better resource internally as well as externally. So working a lot on the inside of the county's processes and procedures to help improve the work that we do. All right, so we'll bump over to lands, culture, and recreation. Last year's report didn't have the department actually established, so we pulled all of the programs together. Lands, culture, and recreation is comprised of the county's Parks and Trails program, Open Lands program, Marshall Mountain, Larchmont Golf Course, and the fairgrounds. So Larchmont last year was the first year that the golf course was fully under county management. So previously it was managed via a contractor. They had great numbers. We had really worked hard to hope that the transition to county management was seamless, and it seemed like it went that way, which was awesome. Tons of rounds of golf. We had a huge number of season passes sold. Tons of kids getting out there for the PGA Junior League programs and junior camps. And then if you all remember back to July, that storm that hit Missoula and knocked over a bunch of trees and power lines, well, it hit the golf course too. So over 170 trees down at the golf course, just a huge amount of cleanup, and it was unbelievable. They had the course reopened for 9 holes after just 2 days, and then the full course, even just a few days later, they had it back open to golf. So just incredible staff. Hats off to them for such a quick turnaround. The fairgrounds obviously host the Western Montana Fair. These photos are just awesome. There's a continued focus on reduction of waste and what goes to the landfill. So there you can see our teams that are helping sort some recyclables and organics to go to compost. It was another huge year for the fair, shattering attendance records. I love these photos. I mean, there's just so much going on. The community has really embraced all of the redevelopment that's happened there and show up and spend time. And it's just awesome to see the popularity of that and see the numbers continue to grow. Community engagement is really a hallmark piece of the kind of mantra of the fairground staff. And so they continue to find partnerships, work with other events. So you can see them running events, some use of the buildings there. It just continues to get busier and busier and more of a sought after location and venue for a number of different community events. And then you're probably familiar with something that's going to be pretty exciting for the fair, the Zootown Music Festival. We'll kick that off this year, July 4th and 5th. You can see the headline acts as well as several other bands that will be performing. There's a couple of stages set up. Tickets are still available for that. And that'll be the first of 5 years that we'll be working on this festival. So there's a 5-year partnership there, a contracting commitment. And then we had the Klaus Bauer Arena go up just in time for last year's fair. So that was a huge improvement. It really is a major upgrade to the old wooden structure that was made up of the seating for the arena. So this is a really neat thing to have in place, and really, I think, change the opportunity and experience for folks that are seeing events there at the grandstands. There's some new things that'll be coming this next year, a horse zone and some other programming that's part of the Western Montana Fair that I think will continue to keep it vibrant and lively. The creativity of our staff there, and then the continued expansion of partnerships that they keep bringing year after year is really remarkable. And I think that kind of keeps people coming and keeps people excited and invigorated. And even this, I think, is really cool too, just finding a partner to create some bags and things out of some of the old banners. So they're just always coming up with cool unique little ideas. The energy there, if you haven't spent time with the fairground staff, is really awesome. They're a bunch of great folks. Marshall Mountain Park, we acquired the old ski area and have been working really hard. We've got Jackson Lee and Silas Phillips as our two staff at the moment that are working in partnership with the city and other groups. We've got Friends of Marshall Mountain. We've got a mountain biking group that are all working to expand some of the trail connections, increase the education and access for folks to get out there and check out the site. We had a first priority of some new trail construction, both to help beginner riders get up the trail to be able to use some of the other paths and trails that are further up the mountain, as well as make it accessible for adaptive cycles. So that's what you're seeing there. This is basically width and grade to allow folks that have mobility challenges the opportunity to get up there and experience some of the trails without having to worry about sites or trail specific designed for mountain bikes. So that's a really cool thing that came about. You can see there some of the trail views. And then, of course, it was just a huge celebration year last year. So a number of different events, ribbon cuttings, this community gathering. And then I love this photo. It's like, these kids are the cutest ever. But yeah, lots of folks showing up there, education, just what the whole purpose of acquisition was all about, just getting folks out, giving them opportunities to experience all ranges and ages and interests and activities, as well as the continued cyclocross and mountain bike racing that has been going on at Marshall for a long time. Popularity of that continues to ramp up, and you'll see some more of that over the course of the next year. Lots of exciting stuff happening there. Like I mentioned, Jackson Lee and Silas are both just going gangbusters. So lots of cool new stuff to happen up there. And hats off to them for doing a great job with a small team to keep that place just alive and well. The Parks and Trails program, you're probably familiar with this format. This is a map that kind of shows the geographic range of where some of their work has highlighted over the course of the last year. You can see some thumbnails there to the left that highlights the places and some photos. You can click on each of those and take a little bit more of a detailed look at some of the programs and the projects that are underway for at least are highlighted for this last year. But you can see they're kind of represented all across the county, which is great. We really work hard to try to make sure we're connecting with a range of different communities. So it's nice to see that on a map. The Open Lands program, this just kind of highlights some of the projects that we've been working on over the course of the last year. Some county projects and then other projects that were joint city-county. So you can take a look at some of those. And then, of course, Marshall was a big one, working with the city on getting that acquired. And then last but not least, we have planning, development, and sustainability. So this is a core function of our Lands and Communities Office and work that we've been doing. They're comprised of both the long-range planning side of the planning office, as well as development review, and then, of course, climate action. We've got some highlights here around work that our long-range planning team has been up to. We were able to secure some grant funds to do some initial kind of existing condition analysis and gather some data that will inform some future planning efforts related to growth policy work throughout the county. So that was good. Continuing to work on the Y infrastructure plan. There should be some engagement coming up here in the near future with that. And that's really looking at the ways in which we can provide some infrastructure for growth that's to the west of Missoula. Our staff have been up in the Swan working with a subcommittee of the community council there on updating their plan. There you can see the existing conditions report that's part of that effort. And they're gonna, I think this Saturday actually have kind of a kickoff community event to engage folks up there, and they're really moving forward, and I think hopefully close to getting some drafts for public review. So that's exciting. We've been working on that for a while, and that's been a long one coming for the folks in the Swan. We'll be rolling out a new project with the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. We got a Community Wildfire Defense Grant last year that will fund a project to update that. Our previous plan was from 2018. So we're working right now to outline the timeline, and then some of the structure for that. We'll be working with a consultant that we've not selected yet, but that's part of the process that we'll be undertaking over the course of the next year. And then classic development review projects coming in, developers working with our planning staff on subdivisions and other things that they're interested in pursuing throughout the county. Here you can just see some of the numbers there on subdivision numbers from each of the last 4 years, as well as exemptions. You can get some trend information there on permits and zoning projects. Scroll through here. Also project types, so you can see the various permit numbers that were approved for each of those various categories, as well as some of the land use and zoning compliance permits that were approved, dwelling units approved, and then the kind of the types of projects that were coming through. Some of you are probably familiar or have heard about various floodplain updates. We've been waiting for some time with different dates of when some of those maps will be coming. They keep kicking that out further and further. So we're anticipating some of those coming in the near future. We've been waiting for quite some time, so hopefully that won't be too much longer. But there will be continued discussions with a number of different communities as the new updated maps come out and figuring out what that means for folks that live near some of our floodplains. Then we do have like a private development project highlight, Grass Valley Gardens subdivision. And this really features some of the examples of some of the zoning we did and what hopefully that would create opportunities for in terms of developers finding opportunities to use the new zoning code to help us with some of our challenges around housing, et cetera. So this really dives in a little bit more to what one particular proposal looks like. There you can see a quote from Commissioner Strohmeyer that speaks to that. These are the kinds of things that we were trying to address, the commission was trying to address and envision when adopting that last land use plan, and then the updated zoning that associated with that. So this is just kind of a highlight, give you an example of one of the projects that is coming forward as a result of some of those efforts. And then, of course, we have planning resources. So if you want to jump on the permitting information or to jump on the property information system, this is a way that you can access that as well. And then if you're curious about some of those graphs that I showed earlier, this Missoula Development Dashboard has a ton of data on it. You can, if you're kind of a data geek, you can spend a ton of time there seeing all sorts of different information around development and what's happening both now and then also back in time over the course of several years. Our climate action program is continuing to plug away. We've got a number of different efforts that they've been engaged with. We've got a relatively small staff there, but they stay connected to other community partners and resources like Electrify Missoula, Climate Ready Missoula. So links to those resources here on their page as well. Stay Cool Missoula is one of the things that they've featured over the course of the last year. We are getting hotter, which probably many of you are familiar with, or you've heard some of our climate staff talk about. That creates challenges for those hotter days during the summer, hot, humid days where we have folks who maybe don't have the ability to stay cool. So these are some resources that were developed in the community to hopefully help folks that might have those challenges related to our climate change in some of the heated or increased temperatures and heating that we're facing, connect them to resources so hopefully they have the ability to weather those hot times during the summer. I mentioned the Home Upgrade Hub. So we have our planning, development, and sustainability, largely our climate staff, kind of key partners in that, making sure that they can connect some of the goals that we have in our climate program to those resources that are happening at Ecology and Extension. Clean Energy Workforce Coalition, this pilot cohort, this was another one of those that was impacted by some changes in funding. So these are in a bit of a holding pattern. We'll hope to see those continue, but are at a bit of a stall for now. And then continuing to work on Electrify Missoula, resources there as well. And there you see Allie Kane, who's our Climate Action Program Coordinator. The resource there, but continuing to work heat pump water heater rebate program, where we were able to offer some grants for folks who wanted to upgrade their heat pumps. So that's been a really popular program. And then our internal efforts around carbon neutrality goals and helping clean up the county's operations. We've got some goals there. You can see carbon neutrality by 2035 and a 30% reduction by 2025. So we're continuing to work on that. We've got plenty of work to do. And looking ahead, this is broad for all of planning, development, and sustainability, but you can just see some of the things there that they're up to. Some of those are continuations of things that I've already mentioned here, like adoption of some of the plans, and then also continuing to take a look ahead at next things that are going to be coming down the road. So that is kind of a whirlwind tour, and I know I whipped through that really quickly. Hopefully the photos were enjoyable for you to take a look at. Again, the link is in the chat, so please take a look at that. And if you have questions, certainly reach out. There are links on each of those to the website as well with additional information if you'd like to learn more, or obviously you can reach out to any of our staff and they'll be happy to visit with you directly as well. If there are questions, I'm happy to take those now, and otherwise, turn it back to you, Juan.
Thanks so much, Chet. Oh, it's just such a great report. It makes me so proud, excited. And then also, it's so successful and bright and shiny and new, but then we don't really acknowledge how long, how much planning and effort has gone into these departments and programs. I mean, I'm just thinking of the ecology and extension building. That whole thing has taken 30 years. I mean, it wasn't like just 5 years ago we threw that thing together. It was Jerry Marks very deliberately planning and saving and plotting for 30 years to make that a reality. And I think sometimes it gets forgotten how long things have been in the works when we see a bright shiny report. But anyways, awesome. So proud.
Yeah, it's great. And I think I had a connection issue. I saw my computer give me a message. I hope I didn't cut out toward the tail end.
No, you were, you were clear for me on my phone.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and the photos are great. Does anyone have any questions for Chet or comments? Everyone got the link. You can wander through this at your leisure. So much good information. Okay. Don't see anything. Kyla, I think are we at round robin, or am I missing something?
Nope, you are correct. We're at the round robin phase. Would you like me to kick that off?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, great. We have a few council members that I know have messaged me and they have conflicting schedules, but let's go ahead and start with Bonner Milltown with Rick or Jane.
Hi, Rick, Bonner Milltown Community Council. Not much new. We've had some pretty quick meetings, but we did have a speaker come from the Home Upgrade Hub. And we've got some more coming up, but not a lot going on in our area.
Thanks, Rick. Clinton, Bonnie, or Frankie?
Hi, this is Frankie, and I feel like I didn't take really good notes at our meeting last week, so forgive me, but we had a wonderful presentation from Regan Meacham doing the substance abuse program. We had to change our night because our usual Thursday night was parent-teacher conferences, and so there was actually no community members there, just us council people and one person on the computer. But she did a great job and we all learned a lot. And I think we're probably thinking about maybe directing her to present to the PTA, maybe our council, just the composition of who comes to our meetings, maybe that wasn't a topic for them. But it was a really great presentation. We did vote to starting next year in September, we're going to change our meetings to the third Tuesday of the month instead of the third Thursday of the month. So hopefully to avoid some of those school closure issues. And then the only other thing I can think of is we had a request from someone named Ray Downs, who represents the Clinton American Legion. And so we're looking into having that person, Ray, present to us we didn't know there was an American Legion out there in Clinton, but we're happy to have him come talk to us. So I think that's it. The only other thing I can think of, and maybe it's a conversation to have with somebody later, but we have a conundrum for our June meeting. Chris Hanley, who is our wonderful treasurer and also our tech person, will not be present. And so none of the rest of us know how to do a hybrid meeting. So we may have to figure out trying to find someone to do that or just have an in-person meeting in June. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you. Oh, and just thank you for these great presentations, Heidi and Chet. Those were really, really great presentations. And thanks for all you do for the county.
Thanks, Frankie. Stephanie, I see your hand is up. Did you have a question or comment?
No, I was just going to say if I could go next, that would be good.
Go ahead, you're up.
Oh, okay. So we are currently at the very minute that this is going on. There's a special meeting of the community council. I think most people have heard about our little fire levy fiasco where the advertised amount was completely different than what showed up on the ballot. So there's actually a special meeting happening at this moment, of which I'm running the Zoom for. So that's why I have to kind of keep it on low level in the background. But that has, it's unfortunate. We just had somebody talk about why East Missoula has its own fire district, as opposed to we're not city, we're not county. We have to provide our own firefighting. And it was unfortunate that there was a miscommunication on the ballot. But that's kind of consumed most of our time for the last couple of weeks since we figured it out. But other than that, we're just trucking along.
Thanks for that update and multitasking tonight. I don't see anyone on from Lolo. Tom Browder said he is not able to join us tonight from Sealy. I don't see anyone on from Swan Valley. So that leaves us with West Valley with Tom Tucker. Do you have an update?
Well, no. Jerry Dells is going to retire in May, so we're going to lose our chairperson. And hopefully we're going to gain 2 more to replace her. So nothing special going on. So I guess that's all I have.
Thank you, Tom.
Hello?
Yep, we heard you, Tom. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Vero, that wraps up our round robin. Unless there's anything else for the good of the order, we are complete.
Thank you so much, Kyla. And Frankie, I'm glad to hear about Regan heading up or doing your the substance abuse or I'm sorry, or her outreach. I'm wondering, I'm hoping that maybe Sealy Lake would invite her to come up and do a presentation for them. I'm wondering if I'll talk to Tom or see if he'd be interested in that. Because I know that they've had some questions there, or wanting some kind of communication and outreach. Okay, well, I think this is it. Josh or Dave, do you have anything to add?
Thanks for everybody for coming and for giving us your time, and thanks to Chet and Heidi for once again. I've seen these presentations before, but you guys did a great job, and it just makes us super proud of all the good work that's going on.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks everyone for attending, and let your colleagues know what they're missing out by not being at these things. So, and see if what you can do to entice them to join us next month.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.